What's up, guys? Oh. What's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight? I'll have my plan, really, for tonight's stream. I was gonna play Mario on the music box. But we got this whole scary thing to react to. But first of all, announcements. I am gonna try to amp up more YouTube videos. Like actually well put together YouTube videos. Edit it by myself. I want to actually produce content that's good. Like for example, I don't know what will show up on here, but I recorded a video today, and I was looking over it, and I was like, huh, what, how could I edit this, make it better? Or, not edit it, but like, hold up, stories that several, no, this wasn't it. This one. This one I recorded, like, welcome to Undertale Eternal Darkness. I don't know. I have no clue what the... Yes, we can do. But it's a pretty interesting video. It's based on the Undertale analog core. But I don't know when we'll be how long we'll be streaming for tonight. It depends on how things go, how things look, how I feel, blah blah blah, all that good shit. Without further ado,
except if you happen to smell them. But some otakus have become a little too obsessed to the point that they commit vile acts. And trust me, it gets crazy.
Our young generation is clearly lost, man.
Just imagine for once that you're a pretty smart student who has so far lived a pretty ordinary life. One day in class, you just happen to find a book that just falls out of the sky. When you go to pick it up, you realize that it isn't Harry Potter, which you could have sold on Craigslist, but something else. A book that is able to the person whose name is written in it. Now imagine you're also a hidden genius psychopath who decides to use this book.
Funny story. I used to be... I wasn't like this. I wasn't like whatever he's about to say. I didn't actually do anything. But funny story. In like middle school, it was a dumbass time for me because I just discovered like anime and shit. And I wanted to... And I thought to myself, wow, I must look like really cool, dude, with all this shit. I did a Naruto run all throughout my middle school. All the time I was in middle school. It did not look cool. It made me look fucking lame. And I wore a fucking Kaneki Tokyo Ghoul mask. Yo. And the fucking wig. I wore this, the mask and everything with the eye patch and shit. Dog, it was such a lame ass time. I don't even know why I physically did it. And then I heard a Death Note. That's
of
what I
all
do.
criminals. And because of all these sudden deaths of bad people, you also build a small fan base of people who like what you're doing and call you Kira. That is the plot of Death Note, the second most popular anime ever. Light Yagami, aka Kira, plays the psychopathic dude on his murder spree while trying not to get caught. Now there are tons of people obsessed with this anime and Light Yagami. For some reason, people just really like the whole psychopath, genius type of character. At around 6 p.m. on September 28, 2007, two hikers find a human body and two legs in a park in Belgium. There's nothing else on their body, no personal items or anything that would identify him or the killers. But two notes were found nearby with the message saying "Watashi wa Kira desu," which roughly translates,
"This motherfucker didn't even write the fucking kanji for it. They just fucking wrote "Watashi wa Kira desu." I'm not even sure that's how you. Is that right? Japanese grammar? No, it's not.
I am
so.
Kira. Shit's crazy. A real dead person next to a Death Note reference. That was not the only mention of anime or Japan though. Once the police arrived, they also discovered a trail left by the killers in the form of a 160-foot line of rice that led to a symbol that is supposed to be something in Japanese. Not sure what it's supposed to mean though, I can't lie. Now the police had no proper leads at all. The detectives concluded that the body was either a few days old when found or had been stored in some sort of freezer. The thighs and his sack were cut with almost surgical precision, and the only thing that they could identify was the fact that it was a Caucasian guy between 20 and 30 years old. There was no missing person matching that description. And the only witness was some jogger who said that she saw some blonde man lying down in the area where the body was discovered. This broke the media, and so there were a lot of speculations that the police was just throwing around, such as it being a prank by medical students because of the surgical precision, and the date of the discovery matched the beginning of the school year. The University of Brussels argued though that it would be almost impossible for a whole body to just disappear without anybody noticing, so that wasn't a good lead. Imagine you could just walk in there, take a body, and nobody would notice. Wouldn't seem like a very safe university. Other people thought it might be the work of a psychopath serial killer that was active between 1996 and 1997, the so-called Butcher of Mons, where 5 women were found in garbage bags without the killer ever.
Well, then again, if that guy watched the fucking anime, you would know. Never mind. Fucking Kira kills everyone.
being identified. It got really crazy. Like, listen to this. The location of the victim was very close to the highest point of Brussels. Possibly a symbolic location since Kira acts as a god of death in the manga. That was out of the actual wiki of the case. Might as well just say that Kira got reincarnated into this world. On November 24th, the police announced that they reached a dead end on the 2-month-old case. And the media was low-key geeked. A murder that nobody could solve, referring to Death Note. And they just wouldn't find any conclusion to the case. Until 3 entire years later, around September of 2010, the police managed to arrest 4 suspects linked to this case. 3 people for the actual and 1 person for failing to provide assistance to a person in danger. It turns out that the deceased person actually lived with multiple of the at the time of the disappearance. An argument broke out between them and the victim refused to leave the apartment when asked, and so it turned physical. They supposedly beat the person until he passed and tried to dissolve the body in the drain cleaner.
God, so it was like... So what the fuck was the point of writing Watashi wa Kira next to the fucking
stuff? Okay. When they came back some days later, according to one of the killers, it stank and was bluish, so they cut the body into pieces. They tried to burn it, but eventually decided to scatter the remainings in the park. In June 2013, 2 of the 4 suspects were convicted and received sentences of 20 years. A 3rd suspect was convicted to 23 years since she went on the run after appearing in court for only 1 day. You've gotta be crazy if you're trying to run from this case. Now the real question is actually, why were there multiple notes saying I am Kira? Well, it turns out they were just really big fans of the manga and anime.
That's fucking great. Fucking. Not even based on a whole fucking murder. All because you like Death Note and shit. That's fucking crazy.
And so they decided to leave them there. And they didn't even spell the sentence correctly. They wrote Watashi wa Kira desu.
That's what I'm fucking saying. I knew it was fucking off.
but it's supposed to be Watashi wa kira desu. I'm
Same!
not a Japanese
I
pro
fucking
though,
knew
so
it!
I'm just repeating what my sources say.
Our young generation is clearly lost.
2015, Japan. Maya Tomita is 20 years old, studying business and pursuing
she a
her passion
baddie.
in the entertainment industry. She has already made a small name for herself by appearing in the TV drama Secret Girls, which was basically a show about these girls living a secret double life as a Japanese idol group. Kinda like Batman, but with more singing and less fighting crime, I think. But after doing a few side gigs here and there, she decided to become an independent artist and musician. In order to gain popularity, since she was still pretty underground, she traveled to different restaurants and venues to play her songs. During these shows, she slowly builds up her following and meets a ton of new people, including Tomohiro Iwazaki. He's around 26 when he first discovers her. He is essentially the polar opposite of Tomita. Her professors describe Tomita as having this very bubbly personality and being very kind and outgoing in general. Iwazaki, on the other hand, has basically isolated himself for the past years. He barely has any friends or social interactions in general. He's like the role model of 4chan users. His brother described him as unskilled in expressing his emotions, but also a gentle and childlike soul. From the first time he saw her, Iwazaki really liked Tomita, and she wouldn't be the first person he would later become absolutely obsessed with. The thing is, Iwazaki had a history of stalking idols and documenting their every move on his blog, where he would share all his thoughts and feelings. And he was a very passionate individual. It would escalate to a point where multiple police reports would be filed against him for following idols in real life and sending them threats.
What the thing about in Japan, I don't think they really focus on the stalking issue that they have with idols and everything and how bad it can get.
But the worst crime would have yet to come. Like with all the other Japanese idols, Iwazaki quickly became infatuated with Tomita. He would start off as a passionate fan of her and her work, giving her chocolates and little gifts after her performances, which could still be seen as quite normal. I mean, fans give stuff to their idols or role models all the time. But as time went on, he became more and more obsessed. In 2016, after giving her various gifts ranging from flowers to weird-ass books, he built up this fantasy that they're gonna become a thing somehow. I mean, he gave her so many cool things, right? So Iwazaki would decide to propose to her in the restaurant she would perform at that night, with his biggest gift yet, a very expensive gold watch, along with random books. So far, Tomita has been quite nice to him, accepting his gifts and all that, but she obviously couldn't marry this guy. They never even talked outside of her performing, so she rejected him, but she gave him his Twitter so he could check out what she was doing more.
That's the mistake you made, Tomita.
And somehow that seemed to satisfy Iwazaki. Although he was like very isolated from everyone essentially and seemed like the perfect guy to run a Discord server, he actually only used Ameba. I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest. A Japanese social networking and blogging platform. So getting access to her Twitter seemed like something very intimate to him, although it definitely wasn't. And so he followed Tomita and a friend of hers, who also performed that night he proposed. Right away, this guy started tweeting like crazy. I'm talking dozens of tweets in a day. Also his idol and her friend. By now, Tomita was more than creeped out and knew that if she actually responded to him, she would only feed more into Iwazaki's fantasies. So she just straight up ignored him. Her friend though initially replied to Iwazaki, since she probably didn't know that he literally attended almost every single one of Tomita's concerts and was just a creep in general. But even she stopped talking to him after a while, and being ignored for all that time kind of flipped a switch in him, which made his love for Mayu Tomita turn into hatred. He proceeded to spam her Twitter with over 400 messages telling her that she's looking down on him, that she's ungrateful, and he even threatened her life. In order to bring an end to all this, she decided to return the expensive watch he gave her and blocked him on Twitter at the end of April. That would be 12 days before the attack. On the 9th of May 2016, Tomita decided to file a police report against him since she did not feel safe at all. The police didn't really do anything though, since it did not fall under Japan's stalking laws back in the day, and they didn't think that harassment on social media was a serious enough threat. Police really was on demon timing. They did not care at all. At this point, Iwazaki has gone absolutely mental. Because Tomita blocked him, he spam messaged her friends on Twitter, demanding all of the gifts back now. The chocolate, the weird books, the flowers, he wanted all of that back. Brody, how do you expect chocolate to be returned? But what can you actually expect from a guy like him? Even though this was a very stressful time for Tomita and all her loved ones, to expect from a guy like him. Even though this was
It looks like it's gonna be cold tomorrow. Maybe it'll snow. I'll have to study for my exam. Recently, something has happened that I found annoying, and it's going on, and I haven't been able to let it out because of the hassle. I realized that it's easier to be left alone after all. it was a evening like that.
It was a very stressful time for Tomita and all her loved ones. She had to keep it pushing. She was trying to make it as a singer after all. So on May 21st, she was set to perform at an event called Solid Girls Night Volume 11. She publicly announced that she would be there, so she was obviously
Well, today is the day, if my calculations are correct, my turn will be from 9 p.m. I'm the 5th in the 30-minute groups that starts at 7 p.m. So I think I'm right. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Iwasaki might pull up, and her worst nightmare became a reality. Before she could even enter the venue, Iwasaki confronted Tomita and asked her why she returned all of the gifts. Tomita was obviously frightened as a and gave a vague answer before trying to run away.
What?
Tomita was obviously frightened as a and gave a vague answer before trying to run away. When she turned around, Iwasaki stabbed her from behind in the chest and neck area.
Why didn't she hire any type of security? I'm sorry, but like it would. Damn, 61.
One time
It would make
with a
sense.
3.1-inch knife. He allegedly screamed, "You should die," while doing that. Eyewitnesses immediately called the police after hearing Tomita scream for help and arrested Iwasaki. You can see in the pictures, this guy doesn't seem to feel any type of remorse or shock at all. This is a genuine psychopath.
There's a person higher than you, fucking dead than you.
Bro, Tomita was in critical condition, but God knows how, Iwasaki didn't manage to damage any vital organs, so she managed to survive and regain consciousness on June 7, 2016. She lived. Unfortunately though, her dream of becoming a popular singer has been destroyed, since she had problems even talking or using her hands. She also suffered.
How's Tomita doing now? Tomita. Why are you? Now. Oh, she has an Instagram. I don't know if she's still doing stuff. That's her? I don't know if this is the same girl, but if it is it? I have no clue, but if she got married, congratulations to her. Oh wait, here's a TikTok.
I got to know about my spa introduced by a friend, and I was looking for a best spa in Ho Chi Minh City, and one of my friends, she introduced me.
Okay, she's still thriving.
On June 7, 2016. She lived. Unfortunately though, her dream of becoming a popular singer has been destroyed, since she had problems even talking or using her hands. She also suffered from PTSD, so imagine going on stage with that. The police later on issued an apology for not doing anything when she was literally begging for help, saying that they didn't know that the harassment was happening outside of social media as well. Iwasaki only received 14 years, but it actually led to Japan changing their anti-stalking laws to include online harassment on social media as well.
I love how like the government or even the police system, as soon as they figure out a problem that realize that can lead to more and more problems that causes in this, they immediately change shit. Like there was a story where a guy committed a mass like stabbing or slashing, and they lowered the knife length.
So there was at least something positive coming out of this. Now this was an insane case of obsession, but this next case had even more casualties.
Our young generation is clearly lost.
Kyoto Animations is one of the greatest animation studios in Japan. It was
No. I'm sorry, but I love you. Ufotable has some fucking grade A animations. Mainly from Fate. Ufotable. Like, they made Fate. All of these were fucking perfectly animated. There was nothing that didn't miss. Whether it was like crazy animated with like high quality animation, or fucking today's menu for the Emiya family, which is awesome.
Was the main publisher of a ton of insane animes, including K-On!, A Silent Voice, Free, and a bunch more. The company has multiple locations throughout Japan, but this story is about Studio One, the building actually dedicated to the animation side of things. It's 2018 and Kyoto Animation suddenly experiences an influx of hate messages. It starts off as threats and slander, but as time goes on, the messages develop into threats, even mentioning specific staff that are working for Kyoto Animation. This whole thing escalates to the point that in October of 2018, the company went to the police to investigate. The
doesn't
Kyoto police tried to find out who was behind these, at this point, hundreds of death threats, but couldn't pinpoint any person, as the creator used Tor to hide their information, kinda like the dark web type of alley. And so the police just kinda gave up. I mean, they're just empty threats after all, right? This would be the potential foreshadowing to one of the most tragic things happening in the anime industry ever. Shinji Aoba, 41 at the time, was staying at an internet cafe on July 16. According to eyewitnesses, he was seen walking around the area close to the animation studio, kinda just cooking up his plan, I guess. 2 days later, on the morning of July the 18th, Aoba walks into the studio, carrying 11 gallons of gasoline. He basically soaks the entire area, including several employees, before igniting it. He sets multiple employees on fire, including him during the process. Right away, the fire results in an explosion at around 10:31 AM due to the gasoline mixing with the air or something. I'm not a chemist. And Aoba supposedly screams "die" repeatedly as he carries out his act. The fire grows by
I was mad because Free Season 2 didn't come out, or some shit like that.
The entrance, as Aoba just walked in there, and it traps the entire staff inside the building. Some workers try to escape through the second and third floors, but the explosion caused the floors to be filled with smoke within 30 seconds, making escape almost impossible. 5 hours later and the fire is under control, but it's only extinguished the next day at 6 AM. The building had no fire sprinklers or anything due to it being classified as a small office building, which is crazy to think about. Now, before I talk about the aftermath of all of this, which is absolutely insane, why did Shinji Aoba do all this? Did he not like the anime they produced? Was he just batshit crazy? But as I already said,
I was mad about her.
He lit himself on too during the process, so he had to be rushed to the hospital with severe burns. While being transported there, he admitted to having started the fire, and he actually admitted doing it because of plagiarism. You heard me right? Because of plagiarism. He accused the studio of stealing ideas from his novel. Aoba had submitted a draft novel to the studio, but it didn't even pass the first stage of assessment and was forgotten. But he was still convinced that they stole stuff from his work. Now let me just read out the scenes that were supposedly stolen. His main accusation was that in the anime Tsurune, there's a character in episode 5 who buys meat at a 20% discount, and his novel also happened to have a scene where the hero buys something at a 50% discount.
Motherfucker, the manga Free came first! If you had a problem with that, you would fucking DM the email the author about the fucking mangaka about it.
That's it. Now there are also some other scenes that were supposedly stolen. So in the anime Free, right, there's a scene where a school banner reads "Swimming Club advanced to regional tournament." Aoba's novel apparently included
Free. So he was pissed off about Free. A school swim banner reads, when the character puts Oh, but there's a scene where a banner. It could have been like.
A few scenes where banners appear too. This guy is not serious. And the last one is where a character in K-On! Says to a junior, "I repeated a grade." And in Aoba's story, there's a scene where a
It's not even similar. It's just he's in the fucking K-On! It's "I repeated a grade," and in his fucking novel is "If you continue like this, you'll repeat a
high school boy is told by his teacher, "If you continue like this, you'll repeat the grade." Those were all the scenes that were apparently plagiarized. It's not like they happen to have the exact same concepts in terms of story or have very similar characters. They happen to have similar scenes, but they were completely different animes. The amount of times an anime girl punches a guy in the face, animation studios would be accused of plagiarism all the time. So let's talk about the disaster.
As many fucking times as I saw, like, a fucking anime where it's like, oh, it's copying the same frames and fight scenes. There's not really many options you can choose to, like, make fights. Like, hold up, I'll be right back. I gotta put up my fucking sherbet. Just watch my cat for a second. I'm back. Again! You can't really plagiarize something that's... I don't know.
She created. 70 people were inside the studio at the time of the fire. 36 employees, most of them almost instantly because of the severe burns, and some of them because of the carbon monoxide a couple days later. Among some of the deceased were Naomi Ishida, a color designer who has worked for the company since 1992. She was the first victim who was identified as. Also, Yasuhiro Takemoto, who was an animator, scriptwriter, and director in the fire. He's worked at Kyoto Animation for almost his entire career. And Yoshiji Kigami, a giant in the industry, a veteran who has worked on films like Akira and Studio Ghibli's Grave of the Fireflies. The world of anime and Japan lost so many important people that day because of this man. This event was one of the deadliest massacres in Japan since the—
all because this motherfucker thought that they were plagiarizing his work. When literally, I can go into any fucking slice of life manga, anime, or whatever, and look at it and there could be a fucking sale that was going on fucking Meat. There could be a fucking character that got held back a grade. There could be a fucking, dude, I don't know.
The end of World War II. Now Aoba was transferred to a university hospital, and he received all the necessary surgery to survive. After 4 months of recovery, he was able to talk and wasn't in critical condition anymore. He got artificial skin and the whole package. After recovering, he said that he regretted his actions and was thankful for the staff, who treated him better than anyone has ever before. Could have thought about that before doing that, big bro. On December 16th, he was charged with attempted and a bunch of other things. And it turns out the novel might have just set off this behavior, but wasn't actually the cause of it, since Aoba had a prior criminal history and suffered from mental illness. In 2012, for example, he robbed a convenience store with a knife and was jailed for 3.5 years. And he did that just because, I guess. This whole court thing takes quite a while, but in January of 2024, he was finally sentenced, and he received the death penalty, which he accepted. Pretty crazy if you think about it. They saved his life and proceeded to do surgery on him for months.
Damn, wait, how long?
January of 2024.
That was fucking recently! That was this year! I didn't realize they still did the death penalty.
He was finally sentenced, and he received the death penalty, which he...
I did. What the? Who was the person? How did... But it says you got the inhumane. I guess
he accepted. Pretty crazy if you think about it. They saved his life and proceeded to do surgery on him for months just to give him the death sentence. But I digress. After the attack, some of the employees who were involved in this tragedy returned to work at the other location of Kyoto Animation. But obviously some of them took extended breaks to deal with the stress and trauma, and the building was demolished.
Our young generation is clearly lost.
It's 4 p.m. The police in Tokyo receive a call that a man has been... Once they arrive at the scene, they find a person seated on the floor. It's an attractive young woman sitting in the lobby of her building, but her legs and hands are covered in blood. She's sitting next to the man who's slowly out, literally just...
I remember this story, and she still uploads shit. I follow her on fucking TikTok.
Chilling with a phone in her hand. That woman was Yuka Takaoka.
She still uploads shit on TikTok. Yuka. And let me show you how fucking creepy her fan base is. I gotta find it. I actually looked through my shit. Is it? That. Trying to find it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, she still uploads shit to this day. She has a whole fucking YouTube!
ポケモン SV 実況のはずが来年3の1月
She-
動画に
What the hell are you? Went into the fucking... Don't disrespect her. I mean, she obviously went to jail, and... But her fucking fan base is crazy. There's like some motherfuckers that like are just like, oh, I wish you could stab me and shit, which is fucking crazy. I think it's mainly on this post. Yes, my yonder creep. Hey, yeah, she still uploads everything, and she has a whole ass YouTube. Hold on that. Maybe I should check out her YouTube. There's her... Does she live stream? I think she just uploads videos. I'm gonna hit her with a subscribe. Oh yeah, she still does shit. Everything.
When all of this happened, Takaoka was a manager at a hostess club. A hostess club is basically a place Japanese men go to get their ego stroked. They go in, the girls working there pretend like they're the king of the world and make them buy drinks and spend money. There's also some spicy stuff going on behind the scenes, but most of the time it's really just talking and drinking. Imagine feeling like Justin Bieber in his prime, but you just pay for that feeling instead. Takaoka's job was kinda just overseeing the place and trying to milk out as much money out of these men as possible. Now on the side, Takaoka was also a huge anime fan. Who would have thought? Whole videos about otakus. She would do the typical thing of cosplaying characters and stuff like that.
She actually does, like, actually pretty nice cosplays.
Nothing out of the
Granted,
ordinary.
I think it was more of her letting jealousy overtake her fucking villains than anything.
There was one type of character though, she seemed to cosplay the most, yanderes. If you're chronically online, you know what those are, but if not, yanderes are basically these girls in anime.
I used to have... I'm glad I changed my fucking... Because, fun fact, how my old YouTube name is, it was based off of, Yandere Dev. Because I used to be I was a huge fan of his work in Yandere Simulator. And I think it was last year or this year, it was revealed that he was talking to a minor. And I was like, fuck. I don't have to change the name.
Animes, or I guess also in real life, who are overly in love with somebody. Like that next level stuff. Anybody who gets near their crush gets stabbed and they become all crazy. That's like the whole story of the game Yandere Simulator, right? You're this girl who everybody and anything who stands in the way of your love. Now let's get back to the hostess club. Those are designed for Japanese men to talk to women, but there's also the female counterpart, host clubs. Women go there to just forget about reality and talk to young men. And in one of those host clubs, Phoenix Luna had just started working there as a host to make a living. It's obviously not his real name though. Even though he just started out, he actually managed to do pretty decently as a host. He was number 4 and for quite some time number 3 in terms of popularity, which didn't result in a lot of money, but it was enough to
Wonder how much these host clubs drain
survive, since he was also able to sleep there. He just kinda had that nice look to him. I mean, he's not an ugly guy, no diddy. So one night, Yuka
No diddy.
Takaoka decided that work was pretty draining as a manager. So she just wanted to relax a little and get some male attention. And so she went to a fusion nightclub, the host club where Luna worked at. Now it was just something about this guy that caught Takaoka's attention. And so she chose him to entertain her for the night. She spends some money, has a pleasant night, and then goes home. As transactional as it gets, basically. It's like somebody subbing to a big streamer. They get $5 and you get to see your name on the screen for a split second. But Takaoka just keeps thinking about this man, so she decides.
Yeah, that. Sorry, Mouse Live. Because that's really the only Twitch streamer I donate to. Oh, she is. Do I have to?
I say Arceus how I want to say Arceus.
Sorry,
You can say Arceus however you want to
It's
say
my
Arceus,
choice!
but I'm saying Arceus because I like it and it sounds cool that way. There are people who say Arceus.
Arcus.
Arceus.
Oh, yeah, let me stop. I donate. Resubscribe. Oh, I was sub to her. But I guess my subscription ran out. I had $6. Now I'm broke until Monday. Dog, I have to survive. I have very low money in my bank account. I'm running on like $50. And I gotta make it till Monday.
To return to the club over and over again. You gotta know, for the past years, Takaoka has only been focusing on stacking her bread. So she has some money to spend, at least for a while. So she goes in there and buys champagne after champagne. And the person who kind of makes her buy those drinks earns a commission, right? So Phoenix Luna is pretty happy about making more money. After a while,
Hey, he's getting
Takaoka
money.
notices
Yeah,
that
it's
Luna is only ranked 4 on the leaderboard. And so she decides to spend even more money on him to get him up those ranks. And
That's
I'm not
crazy.
talking about a few $100s here and there. She spent up to 10k a month on Luna, which got him to rank 1 on the leaderboard within a month. They spend so much time together that Takaoka builds up this fantasy that if she just keeps spending money on him, he would eventually be able to quit his job and they could be a couple. Some down bad fantasy right there. This delusion escalated to a point where she would pay him to go on dates with her and paid extra money.
Oh, so he wasn't. I thought it was actually her boyfriend. But turns out it was.
So she could reserve him every time she visited the club. Now Luna obviously kind of plays along since he's making decent money at this point, and it's kind of the job of somebody working there to be like a pretend boyfriend. And Takaoka would kind of know that since she literally works in the industry herself. But I guess if
No, it turns out she thought it was like.
you got those
actually
pink
attractive.
glasses on, you can't be stopped. She proceeded to rent a whole apartment near Luna's club so they can move in together. And I guess Luna kind of agreed to live there a part-time. This is the part where she actually turns full on yandere herself. She gets so jealous of his work that she tells him that every time he meets a woman who's paying for his services, if you know what I mean, he should call and tell her. Remember, this man is not in a relationship with Takaoka at all. She's just paying him to pretend. Imagine a tier 3 sub tells Pokemon that she can't get in a relationship because he's her biggest fan.
You ain't funny.
But Luna kind of plays along.
I recognize that fucking clip in my life flash
Because he's a sweet guy, and so he agrees to do so. On May 23rd, 2019, Luna calls Takaoka and tells
You
her,
just got a
hey,
person
I'm meeting
this
with
year.
another woman,
Or was
strictly
it last
business,
year?
you know what I'm saying?
No, it was
Just wanted
this
to
year.
let you know, even though this is literally the exact thing she told him to do, Takaoka goes mad. So mad that she makes up a plan to self-exit. But she's also like, if she's going to, might as well take him with me so they can be happy in the afterlife. Kinda like Romeo and Juliet type of story. All this time, Luna obviously said I love you and stuff like that to her, but even she knew that he just did that because he got paid to do so. And in her
Exactly.
head, if they both passed, his statements might become a reality. So she pretends like she didn't just come up with the most twisted, evil plan ever and tells him to go over to their apartment so he can help her clean the place. After they do that, and also some change, he takes a bath to just kind of unwind and relax. While he's taking a nap, Takaoka decides to snoop through his phone and finds pictures of another woman at the nightclub with him. Those weren't even explicit or anything, just photos that align with his work, right? Luna steps out of the tub to go to sleep in the actual bed of the apartment, and it's all good. That night, Takaoka waits
Who
until
wakes
about
up to a knife in his
3:50 a.m. To ensure he's really asleep. She takes out a knife and stabs him in his stomach. He obviously instantly wakes up, shocked that he literally has something in his body, and before being able to push her away, Takaoka sits on top of him, asking him if he really liked her. I think in this situation, every guy would do the same thing, and he just tells her, "I love you," and then pushes
Yeah, I absolutely love you. Now get the knife out of my
her
stomach.
to the side. He runs
Let me
towards the
call
elevator
the
to try to get
police.
out of the building ASAP, and Takaoka
Wait.
follows him after grabbing some things. Luna loses consciousness though, and so Takaoka literally drags his body to the lobby of their residence and just sits next to him, waiting for him to die. Now a random woman just walks by and sees all of this and is shocked to her core. First thing you gotta do is obviously take a picture, and then she calls the police. In the picture, you
Take
can
a picture and
you see
post it.
Takaoka on her phone, talking to God knows who, without a care in the world.
Smoke
Nobody
a
does
cigarette.
anything to stop her though, since they don't know what she's actually capable of. I mean, I would definitely not go near a girl sitting next to a
calm down,
grown
Jamal. Don't pull out the
man
9.
who's slowly acting like everything is sunshine and rainbows. And that brings us back to the beginning. Police arrive and arrest her, and she actually doesn't put up any sort of fight.
I
While
actually
she's in the
kept up-
police
I actually kept up on the story
car, you
until she
can
got
literally
out
see
of
her
prison.
smiling, like she enjoyed that stuff. Now comes probably the most obscure thing ever. Following this attack,
And the crazy thing is, he actually like didn't press charges or
Takaoka
anything.
basically builds a huge following because she's somewhat attractive. Like, what? It's like the guy who ran over who ended up getting like edits made of him. She got fan art. People described her as too beautiful to be criminal, and all of that. In December of 2019,
And she has like 10K on YouTube.
she got 3.5 years in prison for attempted. Only 3 years for all of that. The good side is, Luna was able to recover from his heavy injuries. He regained consciousness 5 days after
And I don't think he even
the
pressed
attack,
charges.
even though the doctor said that he only had a 20% chance of surviving. But obviously he wasn't able to
And then he fucking posted it. Oh, I got stabbed in the stomach, so I can't drink alcohol anymore.
talk,
So.
eat, walk, or do anything essentially for quite some time. But after recovering from all that, as far as I know, he actually came back to the industry. He still works in the same host bar, but it's like way more popular now since everybody knows the story. The one downside is that his liver doesn't work anymore, and so he can't drink alcohol, but he can probably live with that. And this guy's some kind of saint. Luna agreed to do an interview
I
with
think
some
he was just
reporters,
like-
right? And he literally said that he fully forgives her for what she did. This guy's like an angel or something. Now let's talk about Takaoka. This all happened in 2019 and she got 3 years. Doing some basic maths and she's been out there. And she actually posts quite regularly on her Instagram, still doing
TikTok and
cosplays and
YouTube.
stuff like that. And she also streamed, like Pokemon and stuff.
Our young generation is clearly lost, man.
Junji Matsumoto was born in 1962 in, who'd have guessed, Japan. You could describe him as a typical introvert kind of
But that's crazy that, like, he didn't press charges or anything. He was just like, oh, okay. Oh, I got stabbed in the stomach. I guess I fucked around and found out and kept feeding into it. It was partially, like, I guess he let the money get to this. I'm not saying he was in the wrong. They both were, like, in the wrong in their own way. He just let the money get to his head and they realized the signs.
a nerd type of guy. He didn't
Or
really
maybe
talk
he actually
much.
did like her, I don't know.
And when somebody asked him something in class, he would just straight up not respond or go to the bathroom as an excuse. He really was just in his own world for real. For example, one time in class, he was asked what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he just didn't say a word, probably just stared at the teacher. Later, when the classmate asked him in private what he wanted to do, he said he wanted to be a scientist, since he was pretty good at math and science. So he might have been a shy kid, but he at least had something going for him. He could focus on becoming a scientist and just
good.
live a normal life.
So why did he fuck
Unfortunately, he would experience an episode of events that will lead him to kill both of his parents. After graduating high school, he secured a job for a little bit, but quit since he couldn't adjust to the
Why
workplace,
is he owning
probably
it now?
because of his shyness or anxiety, and he just kind of stopped looking for jobs. Instead, he now spends most of his time watching anime, reading
Of course, somehow that links it back to us and fucking
manga, and helping
Overlord.
out at the liquor store that his mother runs alongside his big bro. He has no sort of friends and his
I feel like it's not even like it's like the people commit murder. Yes, the first one was like huge Death Note related, but I feel like the rest is just that they like anime, so it's obviously anime related to the murder.
family are really the only people he actually talks to. It's safe to say he doesn't really have any plan on what to do with his life. And he continues this exact lifestyle for 30 years. 30 years of watching anime, reading manga, and sometimes helping out at the store. And now comes the first unlucky event. His brother is hospitalized because of some sort of illness, which leaves Junji's mom and Junji to run the store now. But things just don't really work out after a while. Other corporations around the area slowly open up stores, Junji can't really operate things, and the parents are quite old now, so they decide to close the shop and retire. I mean, he's around 49 when this happens, so his parents are getting up there as well. Respect to the grind, but at one point you gotta hang it up, right? So they're both retired now, and his dad kinda runs the household since his wife is not physically able to do so. Here comes the second unfortunate event. On June 13th, 2021, Hirokazu, the dad, who's now in his 80s, just rides his bike when he gets into an accident. And you know how quickly older people can break bones and stuff. I mean, it's pretty crazy that he's even able to ride a bike at that age. But the father ends up being wheelchair bound nonetheless. With his brother hospitalized for 10 years now, and his dad being in a wheelchair, it is now fully Junji's responsibility to take care of his parents and the household. And he's overwhelmed. He suddenly has to attend to them 24/7. Every time they gotta go to the toilet, he has to help them. When they need to take a shower, he's gotta help them. And something like a retirement home is out of the
Man was mad that he couldn't fucking benched One Piece, so he killed his
question,
parents.
since they do not have the funds to support that at all. Matter of fact, he uses the money that they saved up over the decades to buy the food and all that, since he hasn't had a job that actually paid him since he was 19. It really seems like a dead end. Now let's talk about the most unfortunate event. On June 20th, 2021, Junji was just watching his favorite anime. Probably like, my little sister can't be this
Fucking Oribo.
Dude, enough with the jokes. This is really sad. He watches this anime to kind of escape reality for a bit, and his father asks him to help him to the toilet, as usual. But there's a really good scene happening right now, so Junji just tries to ignore him. His father really needs to go though, so he's kind of complaining and annoying him, if you can put it like that. He asks him over and over again, until Junji snaps. He's so fed up with his father that he grabs an electrical cord and just starts...
That'd be a crazy thing to fucking ask, but do you think he was maybe like autistic or some shit?
His dad kind of squirms around and tries to stop it, but Junji continues. And all that is left now is his father's soulless... Junji doesn't just live with his father though, right? His mother witnessed everything as well. So in his head, he needs to get rid of her too. He's now left with two in front of him. He grabs them and puts them into the big ass empty fridge that used to be part of the liquor store. He shoves them in there and just tapes the door shut. Jesus Christ, bro, this stuff is disturbing. After the adrenaline probably kind of wears off, he realizes that he had just become a criminal, even though he just wanted to watch his anime. He does not want to go to jail though.
I don't know what anime he was watching at that moment.
Probably because he wouldn't be able to watch his anime, so he devises a plan to escape. After the incident, he calls off all appointments that his parents had. He calls off the rehab for his mother, and he postpones the visit of the welfare guys who would have come to the home to check up on them. On June 23rd, he takes all the credit cards of his parents and withdraws everything he can out of there, and then he leaves. There's a mix of him riding his bike and taking trains, but he essentially travels from one side of Japan to the other side, sleeping in different hotels, motels, whatever he could probably find. While he's gone, his relatives actually try calling them multiple times, but obviously nobody picks up, and so after a while of calling them, they called the police instead for a wellness check. They knew that Junji was under a lot of pressure and was kind of, closed off, not really the guy to talk and stuff. So on June 28th, the police checks up on them. Upon entering the house, they notice this weird stench coming from the fridge, and when they open it, they find this. This is a 3D model of how they were inside the fridge. Damn. So they find both of the parents, but they don't know where the last person is, Junji. I mean, in their heads, everything could have happened to him. He might have been kidnapped, or also met the same fate as the parents. So they ask around. They interview the neighbors and stuff like that, and they all tell them Junji was kind of acting weird lately, and somebody spotted him riding his bike, and that leads to a nationwide search for him. The police looks at security camera footage, they ask hotels and all of that, and through that, they actually managed to track him down pretty easily. On July 4th, 2021, they find him in a hotel parking lot in Kyoto. They first arrest him for leaving corpses without reporting it or something, which you obviously should do, but he quickly admits that he was actually the one who them. And not gonna lie, this next part is just really depressing. During his trial, the prosecutor asks him about his family, and he basically describes how his mother suffered from a lumbar fracture. I don't know what that's either, but her back probably hurt so much that she said she didn't want to anymore. And his father developed dementia in early 2021. And when he asked Junji to help him use the toilet, all that pent-up frustration and pressure just exploded. And he didn't care about the repercussions of his actions. During that trial, there were also talks about him having a personality disorder, which made him so shy and isolated from everybody, but that didn't really change the result of the sentence. On the 6th of, I don't know to be honest, because the article doesn't say what 6th, but I'm guessing on the 6th of July, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison for alongside some other things.
Our young generation is clearly lost, man.
Tsutomu Miyazaki started off like almost every single person on this list. He was born in 1962 in Japan, and during his childhood he kept to himself a lot. He was bullied in school and didn't have a lot of friends, or any friends. And the reason
Dude, that's why it's a smart idea to become friends with that one motherfucker that doesn't talk a lot. Because you don't know, they might snap one day and fucking you and like try to do something. You'll be their only friend who will be safe.
before that is actually because of something entirely out of his control. He had a hand deformity which made his hand appear claw-like. I couldn't find a real close-up of his actual hand, since a lot of people use this picture, which doesn't even have anything to do with this case, but you can kind of see his hand right here. Because he was kind of an outcast, he spent a lot of time reading manga and watching anime, and like a lot of pubescent teenagers, he also dabbled in spicy content and horror movies as well. But as time went on, he gradually started watching more violent and graphic stuff, but I'll get there. Now, although Tsutomu was kind of a loner, from the outside it actually looked like his life was pretty nice. He was born into a wealthy family. They ran a newspaper business and they were actually quite well known in the area. Additionally, he was a straight A student. He attended a very prestigious high school and was basically a 5-star recruit, but for academics basically. He wanted to study English to become a teacher. Pretty wholesome so far. But of course the outside often does not reflect the inside. People flex designer stuff even though they're dead broke. And Tsutomu felt the same way, dead inside. His parents were always working. They put so much pressure on him to perform well in school. He still had no friends, and the only person he actually talked to was his grandfather, who was basically raising him. And all that just accumulates over time. You can tell that he started to show cracks when his grades dropped, and they dropped dramatically. He went from a rising star to rank 40 out of 56, which is pretty bad if you can't tell. Now, the high school he attended was connected to a university, so if you do well enough, you can just kind of transition and study the thing you want to study. In his case, English, right? But his grades dropped so low that he couldn't get in, so he had to attend a random local college instead, and decided to become a photography technician out of nowhere. And you really gotta remember these small details, because once I reach the end, all these little facts will have such a compounding effect. Tsutomu studied photography or whatever, and during this time his obsession with weird media started growing. Apparently in college he would take not so appropriate photos of female players on the tennis court and be an absolute fiend for spicy magazines. But according to him, they became boring after a while, since they black out the most important part. So he would go down the route of seeking more extreme stuff, such as media including people not of age. He really fell into the depths of full-fledged degeneracy. And this is only the beginning. At home, he still felt like nobody in his family really cared about his happiness or anything. They were only focused on material things and the business, which actually drove him to be quite depressed. And during that time, in the mid-1980s, so when he was in his 20s, he actually considered self-exiting. His grandfather managed to talk him out of that though. Unfortunately, in 1988, his grandfather would pass away. His only source of sincere human connection was gone now. The worst thing that could ever happen to him during this period happened. Simultaneously, his grandfather was probably the only one who kept Tsutomu's dark thoughts in check, so he had no person who would regulate him now. And considering that regulated means taking pictures of women, you can kinda guess where this leads. His change of personality was noticeable from the get-go. He began spying on his little sisters and attacked them when they confronted him. When his mother caught wind of it, she also said that he should watch less of his videotapes, that at this point contained increasingly more vile and graphic stuff, like the
No, you shouldn't.
the anime and horror
Parents should have been like, no, you kicked them out.
tapes definitely were not the mainstream type, let's put it this way. He wasn't watching My Neighbor Totoro, okay? And in order to feel closer to his grandpa, that he understandably very much missed, he would also eat some of his ashes. But it's crazy, understandably very much watching My Neighbor Totoro, okay? And in order to feel closer to his grandpa, that he understandably very much missed, he would also eat some of his ashes. But as crazy as it sounds, the worst has yet to come. It's August 22nd, 1988, and Mari Kono, who's 4 at the time, is just playing at a friend's house. And Tsutomu takes notice of this girl. I would really love to say that he just went on with his day and all is good, but instead he decides to lure her in his black Nissan. And he drives off with Mari. He drives for a while and eventually parks the car under a bridge. For 30 minutes they just sit in the car and do nothing until he decides to murder her and does some unspeakable things after. When he's done, he dumps the near his house and lets it decompose before keeping some parts as a trophy in his apartment. He then decides to send a box to Mari's family, including several teeth, grounded bones, and photos of clothing, and I think you can imagine who they belong to. This absolute psychopath also sends a postcard that reads, "Mari, bones, cremated, investigate, proof." This happens a total of 4 times. October 3rd, 1988, Tsutomu spots Masami Yoshizawa, who's 7 at the time. He offers Masami a ride, which she unfortunately accepts. He drives to the same place that he brought Mari to, and
this fucking story.
he does the same unspeakable things to her, takes her clothes, and returns home. December 12th, 1988, Erika Namba plans to return home from a friend's house when Tsutomu kidnaps her. He her into his car and drives to a parking lot and takes pictures of her, of the inappropriate kind. Her was found 3 days later close to the parking lot. On December 20th, Namba's family also receive a postcard that reads, "Erika, cold, cough, throat, rest, death." June 6th, 1989. It's been almost an entire year now since his first victim, and he still has not been caught yet. Ayako Nomoto, age 5, is again just playing in the park when Tsutomu asks to take pictures of her. After doing so, because Ayako obviously doesn't think anything of it, she's 5 goddammit, he convinces her to get into his car where they could continue taking pictures. And again, he murders her. He does not let her rest though. He keeps her body in his apartment for the next 2 days and does unspeakable things until it starts to decompose. He also drinks her and eats parts of her. To make it even harder for all of the families of the victims, he would keep sending postcards describing what he did to them in detail and even call them regularly. When the families would pick up, they would just hear him breathing through the phone, not a single word being said. July 23rd, 1989.
And then I think he tries to pull on, "It wasn't me."
Tsutomu sees 2 sisters playing in the park, and he convinces the younger sister to go with him. Again, he starts taking pictures. But before this horrible cycle of suffering is able to continue, her father steps in and attacks Tsutomu. Luckily, her older sister who stayed behind ran to her dad to tell him what happened. Tsutomu was able to escape, but leaves his car behind. When he eventually returns, thinking that he's safe, he's finally arrested by the police, who waited there the entire time. But that is not the end, just yet. When the police enter his apartment, they find a total of 5,763 videotapes, some containing anime, some containing horror movies, and some containing footage of his victims. Like the entire room was just filled with tapes.
Just imagine one fucking tape is filled with like the recent episode of One Piece at that time. I don't even think One Piece was out. I'm just saying. And then the next tape is just something horrendous.
March 30th, 1990, pretty much all of Japan knew who this man was, and it was a huge thing on the news. His dad, who apparently didn't know any of this beforehand, didn't bother to pay any kind of attorney to represent him, and his whole family obviously disowned him. During the trial, Tsutomu would really just yap. He blamed his alter ego for all the he called him
"This is my alter ego.
The Rat Man." This is a picture he drew to describe him. Bro really just copied the Chuck E. Cheese costume. The thing is, under Japanese law, people who are in the state of like insanity where they commit their crimes aren't punished in the sense of going to prison. Instead, they would be sent to a medical facility or something similar. So it was really just a question of, was he actually insane or just pretending to be to get his sentence reduced? During the interrogation, he talked about how the Rat Man was always standing next to him. And before he killed one of the victims, 10 rat men would just appear, and once they were gone, the victim was dead. Like really just trying to seem like he was
but that doesn't
insane, which he obviously was to a degree, but he was definitely also fully aware of what he did. There were 3 teams of expert psychiatrists analyzing him, I guess, and they all came to different conclusions. One deemed him as schizophrenic, the other team said that he had multiple personality disorder, and the third team said that he might have had a personality disorder, but was still capable of his actions, making him fully responsible. And the court ended up deciding in favor of the last team. And so on April 14th, 1997, he was sentenced to death, but he was actually hanged in 2008. That was something, man.
That was crazy, but well deserved. It's like, oh yeah, that girl got stabbed 61 times and lived. But there was another. That was fucking crazy. But there was another thing that I wanted to look up. That was there's this nice little
Hello there.
story. I
They
want to go through.
were lucky. They
Not horror tale. Not that. What about? Okay, this is Undertale analog horror thing. Where it just is like very fucking creepy. And kind of like horror tale a bit. Okay, hate to hear. But let's listen to. For the past few years, 7 people have been reported missing on Mount Ebot. Ebot. The seventh person was missing on 5/9. The police have been trying to find any clues to the missing person around the mountains, but it seems like nothing useful has been found. The last and possibly the worst theory where the missing person might be is that they fell into the hole on the top of the mountain. The depth of the hole is estimated to be 1,000 feet. That means the chances of survival is not guaranteed. But even if some of them survived, it's unlikely that they will survive for long there without food or water. But then, there's one more thing about this whole story, specifically about Mount Ebot. Long ago, 2 races ruled the earth, humans and monsters. One day war broke out between the 2 races. After a long battle, the humans were victorious. They trapped the monsters underground with a magic spell. If the monsters are still down there after such a long time, it could be possible that they won't be so friendly. Huh? If monsters are still, it could be possible that they won't be friendly towards the fallen humans. Or even, maybe these monsters changed over the time living in the underground. Investigation. So basically, the monsters might have gone crazed. And he has a whole report on, like, when they fell down there. The following tape is used by the members of blank 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 only. Any information given to this tape is strictly confidential. Copying and sharing it with... Almost fell back in my damn chair. It is strictly prohibited. Hold up, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's strictly prohibited. After a few weeks since the disappearance of blank, the seventh person on the territory of Mount Inkbop, the blank, the police department sent an investigation group and cave experts going inside to at least find any clues to the missing people. The cave experts that joined the investigations were Scott and Jeffrey. They were equipped with every important caving gear. Scott was given a camera and a microphone to communicate with Officer Connors. The rest of the members waited on the top of Mount Inkbop and watched everything Scott got on camera through the computer that was connected through the line device. The following audio is a conversation between Connor and Scott during this investigation. Jesus.
Scott, Jeffrey, can you hear me? Yes, Officer Connor, the office is glitching, but I was still able to hear what you're saying. Okay, great. It's Jeffrey with you?
It's Jeffrey. Yes, he's right next to me.
So, could you explain where you are and your surroundings? We are at the bottom of the hole, and if you're starting it looks like about surroundings, there are more open corners around us and some sort of a corridor. To be honest,
Oh, they're at the beginning of the
focus your life and follow. I understand, but this is possibly the only place they could go. The whole mountain was searched except for us beneath it. This is the only place where they could be. Alright. Anyway, me and Jeffrey are gonna go down the corridor. What is it? There is a gate. Not just, a hole or something, but an actual gate. Like a man-made. There are pillars and some strange top of it. The architecture looks ancient. I honestly never heard about people living inside the mountain. Maybe. Officer Connor? Yes? Do you remember the whole history about monsters inside Mount Ebon? Could be possible that they're down there, but let's get in the base of the mountain. Roger that. There's a large hole. With a small light peeking through a hole above us. There's another gate. The same I mentioned earlier, but more ruined. Please proceed with caution. Understood.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely the entrance to the ruins. At the beginning of the game.
There are walls, windows, and entrances. It really looks like someone's living and putting everything here. I have no idea how they built it. How did I not realize they all of this before? Did you find any clues of missing people? No, officer. Huh? Jeffrey found something.
What did you find? The fuck is that thing? There's something right there. Can I turn on brightness? It's like a whole fucking hall. I don't remember the ruins being like this. Whole fucking city. Oh, wait.
Just how big is this place? If most people are somewhere near it, there definitely been some kind of trails or clues or whatever, but nothing. All I can think of right now is how the hell built this whole place. I know it feels like this is sort of a, I don't know, bunker or even a whole damn city underground. And the worst part of this is that I haven't heard of it ever before. You managed to go back. Because it seems like this task is for a much larger group than just two people. There's T and Jeffrey. If this place is that big, then it would be more difficult to find anything like just two chaos. You don't need to worry. If something happens, we will lose a dead end or something. We will immediately tell you. Understood. We found a house. Like, there's a hole. Tree in the middle of the corner, and right behind the tree there's a house. There's windows and an entrance. Maybe these people were there. God, I had a bad feeling about this. Come on, get Jeffrey and go back to the place we found you last time. We'll get you out of the boat there as soon as you arrive. Scott? What is that thing?
Oh shit. What the fuck is that? What type of fucking animal? That fucking Toriel?
Scott, what is going on? Scott, answer me, what's going on? Something just attacked us.
Jeffrey's dead. You gotta make a run for it. Less talking, more running.
Get out of there. We need to up to the surface. Get away from all whatever this was to make find you. Oh shit.
Yep, he's dead. Yeah, Scott and Jeffrey are dead. So your fault, sir. The following images are shown the last photos with Scott Blank took before connections with him was lost. You got the pillars. More pillars. The ground. Eyes. Bravery MP4. Huh. What's this? Oh wait, this is waterfall. I remember this room. It's the puzzle room with the flowers where Undying attacks us. Is Undying gonna show up at this one? What the fuck is that? You're not Undying. What monster are you? Yeah, of course, look away from it. That's a smart idea to do. Wait, let me get a pipe. Oh, you're the singing thing, I think. The siren. And that's how... Oh, that's how the Arch Soul got taken. Through the forest, outdated. Is this still working? Oh, it is, thank goodness. Anyway, hello to whoever you are. I highly doubt that someone will ever find this. My name is Frisk, and I am the 7th person who is now missing on Mount Mbot. Here is a small self-portrait I made. What's up, Frisk? Now, you may ask me how and why I went to Mount Mbot. It's a long story. The main thing is that I am alive and well. Well, you see, this place is filled with some terrifying creatures. The first one I discovered was a large 8-foot goat-like creature. She called herself Toriel. Here's what she looked like. What the fuck? That's Toriel? That is fucking terrifying. How the fuck did you survive? She brought me to her old and dusty house. That's where you what? That's where I found this camera. Was it from the climbers? She seemed nice and friendly. But then she announced a dinner time, and her dinner was me. So you ran. I, thanks to incredible luck, ran out of her house into the snowy forest. I walked through it for some time, thinking it was safe. But then I heard something. I took a photo of what was making that noise. That's Sans. Yeah, that's Sans. That's a little... I had a fun time running from that thing. I'm just surprised fucking Frisk is alive. I hid behind a rock. Thankfully, it didn't saw me. Conveniently shaped. I took a picture of it walking away to get a better view. Yeah, Sans. Why the fuck does Sans look like that? How did it not see me? I have no idea. I'm going deeper into the forest. Hopefully I'll find an exit from this place. See ya. Hopefully. Alright. Hello again. I can't believe I'm actually sitting right now and recording this. I'm just around 15 minutes ago. I was sure I would be dead meat. Anyways, I'll tell everything what happened today. I went deeper into the forest. After that time, I found my way to a place called Snowden. Whatever this place was, I went down that way. On my way, I saw a lot of broken booths and small abandoned huts. There looked like a tree. Then I looked at the trees around me. Some of them looked weird. And I thought to myself that it was my imagination, and I really saw the trees moving. Not like moving because of the wind. They were moving like they were alive. I took my camera and took a picture of it. Oh, that's not a tree. I'm pretty sure that's papyrus. What the fuck happened to you, man? My boy, what did I do to you? You shouldn't even be starving. You're all skin and bones. Don't tell me papyrus killed first. It's so cold. Oh, it's so cold. Sans said that human skin is warm. I need human skin. 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 I need it. Master? That skeleton started running towards me, screaming. It was fast, way faster than the previous monster. It could have catched me easily. I ran into the part of the forest where the trees were much closer to each other. That monster was not only very tall, but it had difficulties moving. Thus, dodging many trees was a struggle task for it. I ran as fast as I could until I saw the silhouette of a building. It was a small town. There was a sign. It said, "Welcome to Snowden." Looking at the town, that seemed like once a bustling town that was abandoned for some reason. It gave me a really weird feeling, or a place I've never visited. Right now, I'm inside of what's supposed to be a small restaurant. Grow peace. Hopefully nothing will find me, at least for an hour. I'll tell more after I leave Snowden and continue my journey. See you. Hopefully. Alright.
Welcome to the history of...
Is this Wingding? Can I actually translate this? Oh, wait. I know you have a lot of questions like where you are and who these creatures are, but trust me, the deeper you will go, the more answers you will get. As of now, I'll leave you this tape, as it tells quite small, but it's an important part of the whole history. This tape is 200 years old and was damaged after so much time has passed, but I fixed it a little to show you at least what it shows. What the hell? Subscribe and like for more content. I'm about to be trolling people so hard for this. Oh, that's my Twitter. Thankfully, nothing was pulled up on there.
Monster kind. In this informative film, we will tell you the chronological history of our kind dropped in the underground, from the times we ruled the earth to the present day. Prepare yourself for quite the ride into
So
history.
basically, I'm just gonna sum up this part since nothing happens. It's basically saying how the core got destroyed and caused monsters to leave. This one is just that Kara died and Toriel ate Azrael. This one I'm not sure, but it's 30 minutes long. Oh no. Oh no, this is the song that was playing.
One of the most important pieces of evidence of art.
Good. Off to the structure.
Oh shit.
The
Alphys
city
is
is
dead.
located far away from the old capital.
You know what's the most
His speech. I guess we'll end it off with a short horror game for tonight. Nothing too like crazy. But nah, I'm just gonna end our stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm sorry I couldn't stream for long today, but tomorrow we'll probably stream more.